Hello everyone, this is our group Mauren, Vidia, and Clara. We want to present our presentations about approach that will be useful in English language teaching. Let's check it out.
Scientific approach. Scientific approach is an approach used in learning with an emphasis on the use of scientific methods in teaching and learning activities. This is based on the essence of learning, which is actually a scientific process carried out by students and teachers. This approach is expected to make students think scientifically, logically, critically, and objectively according to the facts. Principle of the scientific approach. The first, ask a question. The scientific methods start when you ask a question about something that you observe, with how, what, when, who, which, why, or where. For a science fair project, some teachers require that the question be something you can measure, preferably with a number. Second, do background research. Rather than starting from scratch and putting together a plan for answering your question, you want to be a savvy scientist using library and internet research to help you find the best way to do things and ensure that you don't repeat mistakes from the past. Third, construct a hypothesis. A hypothesis is an educated guess about how things work. It is an attempt to answer your question with an explanation that can be tested. A good hypothesis allows you to then make a prediction. Instead, put your hypothesis and the resulting prediction you will be testing, and predictions must be easy to measure. Fourth, test your hypothesis by doing an experiment. Your experiment tests whether your prediction is accurate and thus your hypothesis is supported or not. It is important for your experiment to be a fair test. You conduct a fair test by making sure that you change only one factor at a time, while keeping all other conditions the same. And you should also repeat your experiment several times to make sure that the first results weren't just an accident. Fifth, analyze your data and draw a conclusion. Once your experiment is complete, you collect your measurements and analyze them to see if they support your hypothesis or not. Sixth, communicate your result. To complete your science fair project, you will communicate your results to others in a final report or a display board. Professional scientists do almost exactly the same thing by publishing their final report in a scientific journal or by presenting their result on a poster or during a talk at a scientific meeting. Discovery learning. Discovery learning is a teaching method that relies on student-centered learning or considered a more effective style of teaching because, as the name suggests, a lesson are based on the student and meeting his or her psychological needs to achieve learning outcomes. With this method, students actively participate instead of passively receiving knowledge. Students interact with their environment by exploring and manipulating objects, wrestling with questions and controversies, or performing experiments. They are encouraged to think, ask questions, hypothesize, speculate, cooperate, and collaborate with others. And they develop confidence in problem solving and feel comfortable using knowledge they already have. Principle of discovery learning. First, problem solving. Instructors should guide and motivate learners to seek for solutions by combining existing and newly acquired information and simplifying knowledge. This way, learners are the driving force behind learning. take an active role and establish broader application for skills through activities that encourage risk, problem solving, and probing. Second, learner management. Instructors should allow participants to work either alone or with others and learn at their own pace. This flexibility makes learning the exact opposite of a static sequencing of lessons and activities. Relieves learner from unnecessary stress and makes them feel their own learning. Third, integrating and connecting. Instructors should teach learners how to combine prior knowledge with new and encourage them to connect to the real world. Familiar scenarios become the basis of new information, encouraging learners to extend what they know and invent something new. Fourth, information analysis and interpretation. Discovery learning is process-oriented and not content-oriented, and is based on the assumption that learning is not a mere set of facts. Learners, in fact, learn to analyze and interpret the acquired information rather than memorize the correct answer. Fifth, failure and feedback. Learning doesn't only occur when we find the right answer. It also occurs through failure. Discovery learning does not focus on finding the right end result, but the new things we discover in the process. And it's the instructor's responsibility to provide feedback, since without it learning is incomplete.
Inquiry-based learning is a learning process that engages students by making a real-world connection through exploration and high-level questioning. It is an approach to learning that encourages students to engage in problem-solving and experiential learning. Principles of inquiry-based learning. First, students as researchers. In a typical inquiry-based learning framework, students are introduced to a topic and tasked with developing their own research question to guide their process of discovery. In an English language setting, one way to model this is to provide a leading question for the students, choosing one that is open-ended and can lead students in more than one direction. Even yes, no question can provide such ambiguity, for by doing deeper research, students begin to realize that the answer is not always black and white. Second, teachers as research assistants. As language teachers, we can direct students to instructional videos on skills they'll need to understand and respond to the text they encounter. An instructional video on how to classify information could support a text about different kinds of problem solver. For example, video on relevant grammatical and language structure can also be assigned. Teachers can then use class time not to present the material but to attend students' questions and curiosities. Thirdly, peer-to-peer collaboration. Collaboration also takes place through the final project. IBL classrooms typically have students complete the cycle with group projects, such as debates, group presentations, newsletters, and discussions. Even if students are working independently on personal essays, teachers can have them conduct peer reviews for further feedback and to present their findings and insight to the class, thereby providing them with a wider audience than just the teachers. Fourth, reflecting on learning. The final principle is asking students to reflect on their learning. This can be achieved by posing the leading question on the discussion board at the end of the cycle to see how students' response have evolved based on what they've learned. Language teacher can also encourage reflection through assessment feedback. Project-based learning is a learning model that makes students the subject or center of learning, emphasizing the learning process which has the final result in the form of a project. That is, students are given the freedom to determine their own learning activities, work on learning project collaboratively until results are obtained in the form of a project. That is why the success of this learning is strongly influenced by the activeness of students. The principles are: first, departing from a problem or question. This learning model always starts with a problem or question. This problem must then be solved or resolved by students. Second, authentic and relevant. Project that students work on must be relevant to problems that exist in the real world or students' experiences. That's why students can connect and use the knowledge they get during learning to solve real-world problems. Third, freedom to choose. The project-based learning model is also recommended to give freedom to students in choosing or determining the strategies to be used to solve problems, what project to produce, and the steps to be used to produce these projects. Fourth, self-reflection. In this project-based learning, students are expected to be able to conclude and draw valuable lessons that can be learned during the project completely process. Next, feedback. Not only teaching students science, but this project-based learning model also teaches students to be able to give and receive input or suggestion on project they are working on. The student not only learn from the teacher but can also learn from each other. 6. Presentation. At the end of the project-based learning process, students must be able to present their inventions or projects in front of their classmates or maybe in front of the general public. In addition to being used as material for discussion, it is hoped that all students can also learn the same things and draw conclusions from what has been learned. Cooperative language learning is a part of a more general instructional approach, also known as collaborative learning. Cooperative learning is an approach to teaching that makes maximum use of cooperative activities involving pairs and small groups of learners in the classroom. Project-based learning is a learning model that makes students the subject or center of learning, emphasizing the learning process which has the final result in the form of a project. That is, students are given the freedom to determine their own learning activities, work on learning project collaboratively until results are obtained in the form of a project. That is why the success of this learning is strongly influenced by the activeness of students. Thank you for giving your attention. Did you think this approach will be useful for the language teaching? Give your comment below. Thank you.